you can find on the planet and more than 5,000 years of history. Unfortunately today, it is also working through a complicated mix of religion and politics internally and geopolitical challenges in the region. Optimism there today is alive and well in the hearts of the 70% of the population, just like you, who are under the age 30. I was 14 when we left Iran, a few years after we lost my father to cancer. My mother wanted to make sure my brother and I had unhindered access to education. So we had left Iran and were staying in England and planning to take up residence in the UK when my aha moment came. I'm sure many commencement speakers probably quote Abraham Lincoln or Plato. But today I'm going to tell you that it wasn't a former president or philosopher that inspired my aha. No, for me, it was a hit American TV show about a middle-class African-American couple known as the Jeffersons. There was this incredible optimism that came through the show, and that hope is what drew me to this country. Even the Jeffersons theme song was inspiring. It was called Moving On Up. I had originally planned to sing it for you in case you've missed the reruns, but my 10-year-old daughter begged me not to. What the show embodied, what it illustrated for me, was a family pursuing the American dream, and they were moving on up. My image of the United States at the time came from the show, and it all looked very exciting in Manhattan, New York. One night, just 1 month into settling into our new home in England, I was dreaming of Manhattan. I told my mom we should move to the States. I just feel that it can be a happy place for us. That's at age 14, by the way. To my amazement, my mom agreed, sold the house, took my younger brother back to Iran, and a year later, we immigrated to the US thanks to a dear friend of my dad whose son was studying civil engineering at San Jose State University. I won't talk about how San Jose looked different than Manhattan in Europe. There is something very special about being an immigrant in the US. You come here and you just don't believe anyone or anything can make you fail. It is shocking how much confidence you have as an immigrant. Inherently, you're a dreamer and a fighter. You come to this country to prove something to yourself, to really do the best you can in your education, the best you can in your profession, to build a life and be successful. With the unshakable determination of an immigrant, you can make things happen. So I encourage all of you, those who were born here and those who are not, to act like an immigrant and think like one. Don't let anybody tell you that there's some obstacle that you can't overcome or some dream that you cannot realize. Believe in your immigrant roots, embrace and nurture that edge, and act on your aha moments. My second aha, follow your instincts, not the money. I'm a huge believer in following your intuition and the power of that little voice inside of you. You'll make good decisions if you follow your passion and don't base your decisions on money. I have probably one of the best jobs in the world. I work at Google and I love it because it's fun. I'm the business chief, and some call me the business founder. My job is about running Google's revenue and partnership operations, so basically anything that touches our customers and our partners is my job. Roughly half the employees of Google, that's about 6,000 people, in about 70 offices around the world work in my organization. And when I jump out of bed, that's what keeps me excited to walk, drive, or fly to my job every morning. I do a lot of flying. These days I look like a plane. Google is a fantastic place to be, but I'm 100% certain that I would not be there if I hadn't listened to my gut or if I had let money get in the way. Here are two stories that will illustrate that. As an undergrad here at San Jose State, I studied electrical engineering. That's what you do when you come from Iran. You either study engineering or medicine. As a senior, I took advantage of one of the many standout components of the undergraduate program here, the Career Placement Service. It was in the placement office that I had this second aha moment. I had engineering offers from several companies in the Valley. However, I always dreamed of working for the premier tech company of the time, Hewlett-Packard. So I met a recruiter from HP at the placement office on campus. The recruiter looked at me and said, "You have this outgoing personality and I think you will really enjoy dealing with customers. Are you sure you want to be an engineer?" I said, "Of course," because I had studied engineering, so I was going to be an engineer. But at that moment, at the placement office, on this campus, really changed the course of my life. When I really listened to the voice inside, I actually wanted to be something else. It's about trusting those instincts. Eventually, he and a marketing executive at HP convinced me to consider product marketing at HP, which was a job that required technology background, but which was more of a business role. So I went to HP and started to do product marketing. 7 years later, at another crossroad in my career, I had a similar aha moment. At the tail end of business school, I came caught up in the investment banking frenzy. And I convinced myself that I needed to be an iBanker for the big bonuses that would pay off the loans. I made it to the final rounds of the interview process with a bank called Robertson Stephens when the director of the bank invited me to a baseball game. I really thought I had made it. But then he started asking me all of these questions. Tell me what was wrong with HP? What was wrong with the tech industry? All these negative questions. Being a positive person and having that immigrant, no obstacle is too great mentality, and by then believing in marketing, I said, here's what I would do, here's what I would fix, this is what I did at HP, etc. After the baseball game, I thought, home run for me, the offer was going to be in the mail the next day. What happened? No calls, no news. By the end of the week, I was worried, so I called the director and he said, sorry, Omid, you're just too positive for this business. And I said, what? He said, as an iBanker, it can be dangerous to be too positive. You have to put the company you're evaluating down below the line and have them crawl their way back up. You're too much of a believer and you're not objective enough. So we don't want to make you an offer. Good luck out there. Remember that immigrant edge I told you about? The one that can make you find a way to cut through anything? Well, it kicked in. And while still on the phone, and after already being rejected, I convinced him to give me the job. So he offers me the job and I walk back to Stanford and I notice there's a brown bag lunch being hosted by a new startup called Go Corporation. It was a PDA company and a precursor to all the handheld devices, Trio, Palm, Blackberries, which you're all probably using right now, to text and email about tonight's big party instead of listening to me. I went to the presentation, and as I sat there, my emotions and my heart was saying, this is what I want to do, not the bank. And I had another aha moment. I realized that I had been mesmerized by the money. I was about to work in a big, beautiful bank, a sexy San Francisco high-rise, but in my heart, I knew that the finance world wasn't for me. My real passion was being in the valley. It was technology, and it was being an entrepreneur and a startup guy, wanting to build something. So in the end, I left the Robertson Stephens offer on the table and joined the company I had seen at the brown bag lunch. I knew I wasn't going to make the money that the investment banking position would have afforded me. And in fact, even with an incredibly talented team of people at Go Corporation, we ultimately failed. But I was so much happier because I followed my passion and learned a ton and developed relationships that ultimately helped me develop my career. This is what I mean by following your instincts. That critical switch set me on a path of one startup after another until I finally came to Netscape. While still at Netscape, my old boss from a previous startup suggested I meet with two young computer scientists that had recently launched a search engine called Google and had just left the garage. The end of the story is clear now, but I would not have made it there if I'd gone the investment banking route or the engineering path that I was on when I left this great school. It just shows you these decisions are not just about math or advice from your parents and friends, but it's about instinct. You should consider input from all sources, but in the end, it has to feel right and it has to fit. My third aha moment, it's all about the path. Let me explain. Before going to college, I thought I wanted to be a doctor until my mother, who was a nurse, painted this life of long hours and difficult work-family balance. Little did she know that work-life balance is just as elusive in Silicon Valley and the land of startups. And that the new model here, perhaps not that healthy in the long run, is more of a work-life blend instead of a balance. Thanks to a strong partner in life, I have a wonderful family that deals with this blend every day and supports me at every step.